Over-apologizing. Do you ever catch yourself saying sorry when someone else bumps into you? Or apologizing just for crying or for speaking up? It feels harmless, like good manners, but it isn't. It's a reflex. Because somewhere along the line you learned that sorry keeps you safe, that it keeps people calm, that if you apologize first, maybe nobody gets angry. Of course, there are times when saying sorry matters. When you've genuinely done something wrong, that's healthy. But this is different. This is the automatic sorry, the one that slips out when you've done nothing wrong at all. For talking, for laughing too loud, for simply taking up space. And the thing is, the more you do it, the more you start to believe it, that maybe you are too much, that maybe you are a burden. And that's how a simple word, one you don't even think about, ends up carrying the weight of your past. Hyper-independence. Then there's hyper-independence, the habit of doing absolutely everything on your own. No asking, no relying on others. On the surface, it might look like strength, but this independence is often a shield. It hides a fear of vulnerability or rejection. You think if you can do it all yourself, no one can hurt you or let you down. But this habit often comes from past experiences where trust was broken or help wasn't available when you needed it. So you learn to rely on no one but yourself. Psychology call this an avoidant coping style, and while it might have worked in the past, but now, it leaves you exhausted, isolated, and mistrusting people who mean well. At first, hyper-independence feels empowering, but over time it can lead to burnout. No one can handle everything on their own forever. Avoiding eye contact. Picture this. Someone's talking directly to you, but your gaze keeps drifting. Maybe you look at your shoes, your phone, or out the window. Anywhere but their eyes. Sounds familiar? If you do this, you're not alone. For many survivors of trauma, avoiding eye contact is a protective response. If you've experienced abuse, violence, anger, or judgment in the past, your brain starts to link eye contact with threat or vulnerability. So breaking eye contact becomes a shield, a way to feel less exposed. Psychologists say this behavior sticks around even after the danger's gone, because your brain still sees that gaze as a threat. That's why you might catch yourself looking away without even realizing it. The tough part? Others can read it as disinterest or insecurity, when really it's your nervous system trying to keep you safe. Self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is frustrating because most of the time, you don't even see yourself doing it. You've got something good going, a job, a relationship, even just a goal you're working toward, and right when it starts to click, you pull the plug. You procrastinate, you miss deadlines, you walk away. And the question is, why? It usually comes down to one belief, buried deep. I don't deserve this. For a lot of people, that belief started young. Maybe every time you got excited about something, someone shut you down. You showed off your drawing, they laughed. You shared your good grade, they picked it apart. After a while, your brain connected good things with pain. So now when life actually offers you something safe and positive, part of you doesn't trust it. You wreck it before it can wreck you. It feels like control, but really, it's just the past, stopping you from letting yourself have something good. Eating habits. Not all trauma signs show up as obvious emotions, though. Sometimes they sneak into everyday routines, like the way you eat. Maybe you eat lightning fast, as if someone might take your food away. Maybe you hide while you eat, hoard it for later, or stick to rigid rules about what and when you can eat. You're not hungry, but you keep reaching for food. Or maybe you're starving, but you push the plate away. These eating habits can carry deep echoes of trauma. If childhood involved food scarcity, chaos, or strict control, your brain learned rules like eat fast or don't eat at all. Don't take more than your share or there will be consequences. Over time, these early lessons turn into habits that stick well into adulthood. To the outside world, it looks like picky eating or lack of self-control. But underneath, it's just the nervous system doing what it's always done, trying to keep you safe in a world that once wasn't. People-pleasing? Ever find yourself saying yes when you really want to say no? Agreeing to help a coworker even though your schedule is full? Going out with friends when all you want is a quiet night in? Even laughing at a joke that annoys you just to keep peace? This is people-pleasing, and it's more than politeness. Trauma, whether from childhood, a past relationship, or even a harsh work environment, can teach your brain, keep others happy, stay safe. When love, safety, or approval felt conditional, you learned to keep others satisfied as a way to survive. And here's the cost. The more you do it, the less you hear your own voice. You forget what you want because you're too busy keeping everyone else comfortable. And while it does keep the peace in the moment, it leaves you drained, resentful, and wondering why no one ever seems to notice how much you give. Sleeping with noise/TV on. Okay, this habit might sound harmless, even funny, but it often hides a deeper story. We all know someone who can't fall asleep without the TV on, a fan running, or some background noise. Most of the time, it's not just a preference, it can be a leftover survival habit. In the past, silence may have felt exposing, like danger could sneak in, or left too much space for racing thoughts and memories. For others, it could have been a way to drown out past chaos, shouting, or tension. Over time, it becomes automatic. Background noise works like a shield, keeping the brain distracted enough to drift off. Psychologists call this a self-soothing strategy, but the cost is poor sleep and constant fatigue. Recognition is the first step. Once you understand it, you can start experimenting with ways to feel safe while sleeping and slowly retrain your brain that silence doesn't have to mean danger. Zoning out. Up next on our list. One of the most common but overlooked trauma habits, zoning out. Everyone zones out sometimes. Long class, boring meeting, you catch yourself daydreaming. But trauma zoning out, that's different. That's dissociation. When you've lived through something you couldn't escape, maybe violence at home, maybe war, maybe a situation where leaving wasn't an option, your brain finds another way out. It just shuts the lights off for a while. You're there physically, but mentally, gone. The brain simply decides that leaving the moment, even mentally, feels safer than staying present. The problem? In everyday life, it shows up at the wrong times, mid-conversation, at work, or even while driving. To others, it looks like distraction. But really, zoning out is just your nervous system guarding you from ghosts of the past. Constant fidgeting. Finally, the last habit on our list, constant fidgeting. You ever notice you just can't sit still? Tapping your fingers on the desk, clicking a pen until someone asks you to stop, bouncing your leg under the table. Most people call it nerves or just a bad habit. But for a lot of us, it's something older than that. When life felt tense, maybe when you were a kid, maybe later, your body had to find ways to deal with it. Little movements, small distractions, just something to bleed off the stress. And the crazy part is, it works. It helped you back then. But now, you're safe, nothing's wrong, and your body still won't stop moving. That's your body remembering what it had to do to get through the rough parts, and it just hasn't forgotten. And that's our list. 10 everyday habits that might look harmless, but usually have roots that run much deeper. On the outside, they seem small, but they're often old defense systems your mind never quite turned off. And recognizing them is the first step toward healing. So, which of these felt familiar to you? Let us know down in the comments. And if this video got you thinking, hit like, share it with someone who might need it, and make sure you're subscribed. There's plenty more where this came from.